Mr. Solicitor, do you want to do the executive session now, or do you want to go through the engineering report and do that after?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think there is an engineering report this evening, but I think it would be advisable for us to go into a very brief executive session for me to give some legal advice to the Planning Commission.
Okay, great. So we were going to take a 10-minute executive session break, 10 to 15-minute executive session break. We will be back after that. Do I need to make a motion, or do I just call it off? All right, call it off. Thank you. We will see you in like 10 minutes. Go ahead, sir. Sorry, Kurt. All right.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for allowing me to do that. And again, the planning commission rather just met in executive session to have some legal advice given to it. I did want to also point out that Mr. Zinkowski and Ms. Bear are not here this evening, so I am doing a couple of things at the same time. I apologize if I miss a comment online or anything of that nature. It's a little new to me. But I did also want to, I believe, Mr. Chairman, that the EVA folks wanted to make a presentation this evening as well.
Mhm.
We're also going to have Roger and Rick give some comments on the draft ordinance as it exists today. And I want to be very clear that this meeting this evening there is no intention of this planning commission making a recommendation on an ordinance this evening. We're really in an information gathering session right now. And that what we will do is hopefully compile a lot of the comments that have been given to us and the recommendations of the professionals and have a red line, well, actually a true draft of an ordinance right after Labor Day that will be considered at the next planning commission meeting. So that's the intent anyway, is for that to happen. There is no decision being made this evening. And Mr. Chairman, one last thing, Mr. Zinkowski did ask me to let everyone know that tentatively scheduled for September 10th will be a town hall style meeting to allow residents to make comments and air concerns with respect to data centers. So thank you.
Thank you. One other thing I want to kind of just set expectation for tonight is I want to be done around 9 o'clock. That's just basically to make sure that everybody can get home safely and we're all being smart about this. So I'm going to try to keep us as on track as possible. Again, we're going to have time for public comment and the presentations that we have for today. Mr. Solicitor, do you have an order in which you want to have presentations be made?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I indicated, there's no engineer's report this evening, but I believe Mr. Phillips had some comments that he'd like to make on the draft.
Sure, thank you. So the draft, is there a date that this draft was generating? Can I just to refer
It's
to
the
it?
one that's online.
Okay, the one that's online. I think it's made some good progress since the first one that came out. Obviously, some of the big concerns that we would want to address in this is the noise. We all know it's noise, it's traffic, and it's water and sewer are the big concerns with these type of facilities. So I think we really need to focus on the language that will require certain decibel levels at certain times, and that's in here. I think what needs to be done is a little more research and a little more grinding out some numbers to make sure that those decibel numbers are actually what we're looking for. I believe what's in here now for the one that says 50 decibels maybe actually a little low, and I think we would recommend that the applicant do like an ambient noise study prior to anything happening to see what the background level noises are in the area, and then they would be limited to not increasing that. And I think that's a better way to put it in there, where they can't increase the ambient noise. There was the sections that deal with water and sewer. Since the township doesn't provide water, there's really not much control over there, other than the language would have to dictate that they would have the appropriate approvals for the quantity of water. A very large data center would probably look at taking water directly out of the river on their own, and that would be regulated by the Delaware River Basin Commission. The sewer, I think the language in here is pretty tight so far, where it says that they would be required to do any upgrades or deal with that all on their own. And the other item, well, and traffic, the traffic section that's in here now, I think is pretty good. We're looking at it's tough to under the MPC to get any applicant to do off-site improvements, but I think we had some discussions about saying that this must be located adjacent to a arterial road, so they may need to do improvements to make an entrance that would be considered an arterial road. So I think we need to look a little more at how we can do that without it being an off-site improvement. And that's pretty much my comments for now. Again, as Joe said, we'll be working after this meeting with all this information to just kind of come up with this draft ordinance and incorporate all of those items.
Roger, just with respect to the sound, I think we had an offline discussion a little bit about where sound should be measured. We had a little bit of a discussion about where sound should be measured from. In the ordinance, I believe it's from the generation point, but you had another suggestion.
Yeah, most municipal noise ordinances require the sound be measured at the property line, which I think is more appropriate, because it would be very difficult to measure that sound at the source, because the source, there'll be a number of sources, and we don't want an unintended consequence where you measured at one source and another source may be a little louder in a different area. I think if you stick to the property line is enforceable. The property line measurements are enforceable, and there's a long history of that with noise ordinances in many townships. So I think that would be the best way to go there. And we would also want to see in there that whether it be annually or at any time that the township would so choose, they could require that ordinance or that the noise study to be recompleted maybe annually in order for them to renew a permit or to maintain their status, so that we make sure that it doesn't start out meeting the ordinance and then they modify something and then it's louder. So we want to make sure that we can address that through the life of the property.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I make a quick
Yes, sir.
comment on that? So I've looked at a number of these ordinances for other townships, and they almost all have exactly what you just suggested, which is at the township's discretion, a subsequent noise study at the developer's expense can be instituted. The other thing that a number of them have are very. I am speaking into the mic. I'll speak louder. Project. Another thing that a number of the ordinances have are the decibel numbers actually very similar to the ones that are in this draft. And remember, this discussion is about us being prepared to deal with one of these, should it apply, right? But one of the things that they do have is if there's a power outage and their generators come on, they have, I don't know if it's a variance, but they're allowed to make more noise basically if the generators come on. And then that has to be remedied within a certain number of hours after the power comes back on. So that's something again to think about on the noise side of things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Who all was on that list? I don't have the list in front of me of people that were going to make presentations, so I just don't know.
Mr. Traley's would be next,
Okay.
just for comments on the draft. Again, it's available online.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Traley's from Natural Lands. I'm the township planning consultant. I've also reviewed the draft, and there are a number of little things that I'd prefer to just sort of share by email, just, you know, typos, numbers, things like that. A couple bigger picture questions, and I don't expect answers tonight necessarily, but starting on what would be page number 4, section 6, referring to the Uptime Institute Tier 4 design standards. I was wondering if it's appropriate to simply refer to another set of standards rather than spelling out what the standards actually are in the ordinance. You know, should the Uptime Institute go belly up at some point? And that's what our ordinance refers to. That could be an issue.
Okay.
Another question on the same page, going down to number 7. In reviewing the woodland protection standards, this draft states that up to 50% of the woodlands are permitted to be cleared or developed if the following conditions are met. And there are conditions about tree replacement, in-kind species, etc. And this ordinance is actually, if I'm reading it correctly, a little bit more restrictive to the applicant than the tree replacement in the rest of the IMU district, which is fine with me, but just wanted to point that out in case it would potentially be a legal issue to set a higher tree removal standard for one use versus other uses. And one other big picture question, considering the amount of heavy metals, diesel fuel, batteries, things like that, is there a mechanism to add any sort of higher level review or meeting with the fire department? Is there, additional dangers to the firefighters that really need to be talked through if there's ever an issue at the site? Otherwise, a handful of other little things that I can communicate by email. Thank you.
Thank you. So then was Michelle on the list too?
Michelle, you were on the list as well to have, if you wanted to make any comments with respect to the draft that was online. I know you were traveling like I was, but if you're not prepared to do that, that's perfectly fine. Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, that's all we had.
Okay, and then I know the EDA had some thing that they wanted to present as well. Do you want to come up? I don't think I turned the microphone on up here. So. If it's green light is on, then.
Thanks. There we go.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks. Good evening. Dana Chaffone, East Vincent Advocacy President. Thanks for giving us some time. I don't have a presentation. We were kind of scrambling once we got the red line ordinance. But well, first of all, I just want to thank the residents that came out tonight and responded to the call. I think it's so important that we have resident involvement and, that they're informed. And I think it's a great turnout. Thank you, everyone that came. This is about our community and how we can protect our community. I think up till now, we've had like 6 hours of discussion on this in the last 2 meetings, and it's been very, I think, productive, I'd say, so I think we've come at this from a partnership perspective in terms of EVA and the township. So we really were hoping to hear from our consultants, so that was great to kick things off. We think that they can help to inform this and fill in some of the blanks, so to speak. So to have that kickoff, I think, was really good. So we've been doing, and some other members of EVA have been doing a lot of research and comparing model ordinances and other ordinances that are already in place in other townships that maybe would serve as best practices. And it's a lot to distill, but we've tried to make a good effort of it. So we've put together, Chris actually put something together that's a distillation of all of that. And our hope was, I want to talk a little bit about process, is that as you're going through, Joe, I'm not sure if you're going to go section by section, or Austin, what you wanted to do tonight, but the hope was that you could refer back to some of these sections and some of the insights that, again, that we've distilled through all of this comparison that's been done, and bring that into the discussions, as opposed to maybe at the end when it's a lot, right? So if we're going through and we're talking about noise, and we've pointed out something that the model ordinance has that we think is useful, if we could read that, or it's bullet points. So if we could maybe consider that as we're going, because I think that's been one of the challenges, and Monica brought that up at the last BOS meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris to talk about how we got to this 2-page document. I think you all have it, and there's a few copies floating around. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us talk tonight. We had a series of ordinances that we had reviewed in our research. Penn Future came out with an ordinance. Thacker County in Virginia has an ordinance. And then we took a series of resident research observations, that's what it's called, residents, and tried to look at a comparative level of what were the strengths, and I can leave the strengths for you to read, and what were the strengths of different policies. And then we made some recommendations. So what we'd like to do is really take a look at, how public engagement, architectural details, buffering, sustainability. A lot of people are looking at mandatory underground utility lines. What's the decommissioning obligation? We felt that the definitions really needed to be more comprehensive, and we've provided some of those for you. And then we've also tried to look at water and public process, which I know will be guided by the Municipal Planning Code, but we have some thoughts on that. And what are the key recommendations? So we would like to have expanded definitions, that's on the bottom of page 2, adopt siting restrictions, have sustainability metrics, water protections, public engagement, decommissioning, security and resilience, utility underground, and an oversight level that's continuous at the township level. And then what we've done is provided a page and a half roughly of where different aspects of the ordinance, what I handed to Joe, and he'll forward you all 3 ordinances that we worked from, where we think changes should be inserted into Joe's revision number 2. You can ask me questions, but I'm trying to be brief given the mindfulness that you have for our 9 o'clock. But I just want to say that we had a tremendous amount of open rates on our educational effort in East Vincent advocacy. So we feel that we are serving a good purpose to educate our residents about what it means to have the possibility of a data center. And of course, we are keeping in mind what you are doing, as you've said very clearly, that these are guardrails for our township to protect us. So we are keeping that in mind as well. We're trying to be helpful and positive.
Thank
Do you
you.
have any specific questions? I know that we're all operating with things being handed. I got your draft ordinance last night at 9 o'clock. You're getting this, at 7:30. But if you have any questions, we certainly are here to answer them.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, because I think, can you hear me? I think these 4 ordinances, and maybe even 5 now, one came in today, which has some really nice ideas. If we could put them together as the most, take all the important pieces from all of them and have someone research it. I know what a vast job that has been. So I thank you very much. Just trying to do as much as I have done. You've done so much more. So I think it would be really important for us to take advantage of what they have done. So if we're looking at noise, which ordinance had the best noise, and why can't we do that? And what would be the reasons we couldn't? Which ordinance had the best like there is one I know that requires you to be near an arterial road, and that's asking off-site improvements. But on the other hand, it's saying, well, don't think about putting a data ordinance in unless there's an arterial road. And I know that there are legal issues on all of that, but let's just get the best ordinance we can.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
It pretty much looks like you summarized. Like this is the Cliff Notes version
Add to that about the Cliff Notes. Yeah, I mean, there are a range of things, and one township or county is doing it one way and one is doing it another. So there's still going to be decisions you guys are going to have to make and make recommendations to the board. So it's still, again, more work to go through, but hopefully this informs and gives some sense of maybe the parameters of where we want to be within. And as Elaine said, comparing, one to the other and getting to the best informed ordinance that we can have. We're looking for the protections for the community. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thanks to the team.
Thank
This
you.
is, I've done a lot of research over the last month on this whole issue. And I must say a lot of the gaps that you've shown here and articulated, just glancing at them, very consistent with my own conclusions as well. So I think this is really valuable. Thank you.
Do we have any other presentations? How did you want to start going about this? Do we want to go section by section, or do we just want to? I don't know how.
So, Mr. Chairman, what Mr. Zinkowski had suggested, and I think makes sense, and I don't want to speak for him, he's not here, would be to take what we just received this evening, together with what some of the members up here have already forwarded to the township, combine that all into kind of one master draft, if you will, bring that forward next month, and then go through it probably section by section, or where there's inconsistencies or options. We intend to show those options, option 1, option 2, option 3, have a consensus on, or at least a majority recommendation on which option should be moved forward, and go from there. So I think for purposes of this evening, there's not much more discussion to be had on the ordinance itself until we really get that draft together.
All right. 1 second. All right, so since we're not gonna really discuss section by section tonight, I do want to listen. We have, last time I counted, there was 26 people here. That was before I went in there. I came out, it looks like the crowd doubled. So I kind of want to open it up for some public comment on this. I know a lot of people came out specifically to have their voices heard. I want to make sure that your voices are heard, even though we're probably all on the same wavelength as you. So please.
Could I just ask, maybe Joe could give like an overview of how we got here and what we're doing and what this ordinance represents? Because I'm not sure everybody, and then get that public comment, just so informing. Thank you.
Yep.
Sure. So how we got here, property owner came forward and had asked about a potential data center use on his property. All of you, I think, are pretty familiar with that property is. It's Penhurst. There's no secret about that. The property owner met with township staff, and in order to try and get ahead of that, we then started to draft an ordinance based on some of the ordinances that are in the surrounding communities, Limerick in particular. So with that draft, we have now had a couple of discussions, some expanded discussion, looked at other drafts of ordinances, and that is where we are now at the point of having looked at a number of different ordinances, had a lot of research done by a lot of different folks, and to the point now where we're going to put together a revised draft that will be the starting point for what I'll call the more earnest discussions about a recommendation moving forward. We also got here as a result of what the existing ordinance and what the IMU, the industrial mixed use zoning, allows for as it exists today. There have been a number of uses proposed on this property. Most of those uses could be built today, and just we're looking at the use alone, not at the impact on the overall community or infrastructure improvements that may need to be made or restrictions from a bulk or dimensional perspective. But at this point, that is where we are. The township does not directly address data centers. There is a way with a catch-all provision in the general industrial district for a data center to be allowed by conditional use. That comes back to the IMU district, because in the IMU district, you are allowed to have a planned commercial development that allows for any use that's allowed in the general industrial district. So long way around the barn of saying whatever you can do in the general industrial, you can pretty much do in the IMU. So that's how we got here. All right, so any public comment, Mr. Chairman, we could take now if you wanted to take the public comment on this, since I think a majority of folks are here for it.
Steve, please.
Steve Hacker, 881 Brown Drive. So when you were talking about the sound, testing for the sound, people look at our neighborhood and think it's this quiet, bucolic neighborhood. We've had American Water Works under heavy construction now for a couple of years, both at their old plant and their new one. We have Penhurst constantly doing who knows what up there, but bringing in major equipment in and out all the time. And you also have the National Guard too. How could you get an accurate reading on what the ambient sound levels are at this moment? Like if they came in now, and it's noisy all the time. So if they came in now and did an ambient sound measurement, it would be loud and they'd be like, oh, okay, we're good because it's loud here all the time. We've been waiting for this construction to get done for years and hopefully will be done soon. But I would caution about, you know, it's like a traffic study that's done when none of the kids are in school. And then they say, well, this is what the traffic's going to be like. Right now, when there's construction going on, I'll just reiterate, I don't know how you get an accurate one. And I think it would really have to be, you know, overlooked because they're paying for it. They're going to want to do what they want. But that's a caution I have there. Also, as far as arterial entranceways to it, and this goes for any type of anything that goes in Penhurst. My road, Brown Drive, has 3 houses from the 1800s on it. They built houses close to the road in the 1800s because they didn't want to have to shovel too much snow. I'm sure all the people in Carrigan Village are also going to echo the fact that at the time they were built, houses are built close to the road. There is no way you can. Oh, and let me not forget Spring City. I'm sure they're going to chime in on this at some point with Church Street. I'm sure they probably should have somebody there listening to what's going on. There's no way you could not majorly disrupt neighborhoods by widening roads for a major arterial entranceway. So I don't know how you do that with this ordinance, but it's 2 major concerns that are going to disrupt people's lives. So I just want everyone to be aware of that.
Thanks. Any further comments? Yes, sir? You have to come up. That way everybody can hear you. Sorry.
My major concern is how much water is this thing going to use?
Sir, yeah.
Joe Frattantoni?
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Lucas Lane, down the street. Water usage. What kind of water are they going to be used to, like, does it have to be cooled off like a reactor, or how does that work?
I don't know. I mean, the data centers do have water chillers, but they're usually localized to the facility. But I mean, I don't know what kind of data center they're actually going to be building, so I don't know what kind of cooling they would use.
Okay.
Some of these ordinances talk about recirculating the water, so it shouldn't be drawing a lot from existing sources. They'll probably have to initially, there's probably some evaporation or loss, but they should be reusing it. That's what we're hoping for, I believe.
Is this
Just,
a privately owned venture?
We don't have a name. in front of
there's
us.
no
we don't know.
application to discuss at this point.
Oh, okay.
Just to contextualize it, I'll eat it if I get any closer. Just to contextualize it, without a recirculating system, some of these data centers, depending on the size, can take between 10,000 and 50,000 gallons a day. A day. So water is a major concern and will be a major focus of this ordinance.
I think so. Now, what is the function of a data center?
It stores and processes digitized information.
How will it benefit the township in some way?
Taxation.
Taxation. So you could potentially pay off the building sooner and lower our taxes?
Never know.
So the question of what is the data center
Yeah.
is just like you said, it stores data, but every time you store pictures of your cat into the cloud, it's going to a data center.
Oh, I see.
Anytime you order anything from Amazon, it goes through data center. So when you log on to one of your accounts somewhere in the cloud, that's what it is. It's and that's for
Really on the ground.
and
Yeah.
and that's everyone all over the world doing that. So they had to create these data centers to store all that digitized information.
Electricity use, I mean,
Massive.
massive. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
we were kind of jokingly talking about the benefit to the township or the resident. And from a tax perspective, from a tax generation perspective, there is a massive amount of tax generation as a result of these buildings being worth what they're worth. So there is that benefit, if you will, to the township.
All right, thank you.
And just to build on the electricity comment, some ordinances do contemplate small modular nuclear fission reactors as the energy source.
We got one across the river. We can't reach that.
Any other public comments, please?
Hello, thank you very much. Thomasina Webb, Spring City. I'm new to this area and I'm new to the data center concept. But I wonder about the news in that in the last year, AI compatibility, AI technology has leapfrogged the United States in China. And the requirements for energy, for water, for power, everything connected to a data center is reduced significantly by the technology in China. And for the risk of our environment, our neighborhoods, and the future generations, would you consider postponing this request for the property development for another year because the technology has leapfrogged in 1 year?
So just to be clear, there is no proposed development right now.
It's a proposal.
There is no plan, there is no proposal. There was a request from the property owner
Right.
to whether or not a data center was a permitted use on the property.
So it's only the question if it would be permitted?
And yes, that is correct. There is no plan now. There was many years ago, I want to say at least, well, let me back. This administration has only been in place, including myself, for about a year to a year and a half. Several administrations ago, there was a proposal for a data center on this property that was planned in addition to other uses. That did not move forward. That is not what we're talking about this evening. This is really to get ahead of the applicant, if you will, before they come to the table.
I would hope that you would consider postponing anything because of the technology.
Ma'am, we cannot postpone. At this point, the applicant could build a data center with very little control.
Oh.
And That's why we're having the conversation.
I didn't realize
What
that.
guidelines could we put in place to ensure that the safety of our residents, our township, our environment is safeguarded?
Thank you.
That's this conversation.
I was not clear on that.
Okay.
I really appreciate your hard work.
Thank you. Any other comments? No.
Katie Muth, 316 Emerald Court. Good evening, everyone. I have been knee deep in data center hoopla from a state perspective. I want to just start by, so that I don't forget to say this, because I think it might be one of the most important things I have to say, is that the timing of this couldn't be more critical. And I'm relieved to hear that you're going to have something in early September. But for those of you that are not aware, there is a bipartisan supported, what I would call unconstitutional legislation, House Bill 502 and Senate Bill 502, that would completely remove your local, our local control on zoning and siting for any energy related infrastructure. That means gas powered plants, coal mine, does not matter what the source of energy, that would be taken away from our local officials and would be put in the hands of a quote state siting board that includes for-profit entities. The Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce is a voting member of a board that represents Fortune 500 companies. They're representing the big dogs. There's also workers who are contracted to build these facilities by these corporations. There's no mom and pop data center. Like, let's be clear, right? This is a complete corporate exploitation of Pennsylvania. And it's, my hope is that people are paying attention, because everybody's electric bill just went up in June. The entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania had an approval for a rate increase of, depending on your utility provider, 20 to 30%. That will continue to go up. There's not a single thing in state law that says electric bills for residents are to be capped at a certain percentage, that it's completely legal for we, the people, residential ratepayers, to subsidize the complete build out of a data center. So I just want to be so clear on how important it is to have something in place, and that you may not be able to legally address the ratepayer part, but you are able to address the part that has another direct impact on everyone that lives here and beyond in the surrounding area. So I appreciate that you're taking the time to do this. We have no budget passed, as you all know. And I don't know when we're going to be called back to session. We could be called back to session tomorrow. And this really horrible piece of legislation, I'm trying not to swear, so that's not on the, you're welcome. I'm not sure if public comment has the rules of the Senate floor where you can be censured for swearing. So, but that could be lumped in into a really bad administrative code bill. That bill language can be dumped into a 800-page thing that we all have to vote on. It could be lumped in with transit funding. So I just want to lay that landscape of how horribly corrupt things are in the building that I work in and what we're up against here locally. And there is a lot happening locally. This isn't even a partisan issue amongst the public. There are municipalities that are Republican majority, Democratic majority. They're all working together, even in working groups, to get draft language, which I'll send you something on Monday. Joe, who I was working with, is just still, it'll be bullet points of what they've been working on. It's stronger than Penn Future, but Penn Future is supportive of HB 502. So I just want to put that out there. And I know that I am, some would say, a bad Democrat for calling out other Democrats, but I don't have any party loyalty. I just want to do my job and hopefully try to make your lives better. But the other things I want to talk about that I just learned that are really important, well, also the first responder piece, please have that conversation, figure out what equipment needs. Like, those should be things that are done in advance or required of whoever ends up being an applicant. There is a tremendous amount of risk of having batteries and diesel storage, and they know that. They know how to, and that Chester County Emergency Management people are really good. I would even put the pipeline people on there. There's a lot of really informed people that are hazardous waste people that are, and I can connect you if you don't know them. They're just great humans. And this is a very high risk area. We have a freight train line. We just have a lot going on that could be a little bit, you know, a lot. So that first responder piece, don't make that an afterthought. I know we don't have a fire department here, but I would make sure that the departments that would be responding. And I think it's important to note that this could be an ongoing battle, that we're this close to a nuclear power plant is why this is a targeted area, because it would cost less money to build transmission lines to a data center here than it would be even in the next township over. So I had the eerie experience of touring 3 Mile Island last month. 75-year-old nuclear power plant, had some abandoned desks. It was very interesting. The air conditioning wasn't yet reinstalled. No security. There allegedly is no nuclear rods there, even in the cooling pool. But you know, it's never been done before to recommission something and bring it back online. We're lucky that this one, I mean, I guess lucky that it's there. We're not in that scenario, but we are in a scenario where it's cheaper for any data center entity to connect. And that's why we are a big target here. The other thing I want to talk about that you absolutely have to include is the air quality. So you can Google this. Elon Musk's first data center outside of Memphis is already built. There's a second one and a third one proposed. This is XAI. So the other distinction I want to make is there's a lot of data centers right here in our area that are not artificial intelligence data centers. So they might do electronic medical records for Penn Hospital. They power next gen 911. If you want to know why 911 was out for a few hours last month, I think, or a couple weeks ago, the data center failure. But because they have multiple data centers powering next gen 911, the whole thing didn't crash. They just needed to rule out that it wasn't the whole system. It was, I mean, I'm on that committee, so I knew immediately, and I thought, well, isn't that now that'll be the rationale to build more data centers. But so those are smaller and they are not mega power users. And if you tour a data center, which I just asked for my second tour, there's one right, PJM, the power grid has a data center right next to it. In Lower Providence Township. They declined my request for an interview due to security reasons, but I did tour the one at GSK and they were very accommodating. You all should seriously just go just for the reference of like, oh, this is what this all looks like, the diesel. I mean, it was very clean. I don't know if they power wash, but like it was very informative. Yeah, it was very clean. But there's not a lot of people there. So that's the other part of making sure there's proper oversight. But the air. These mega data centers in Memphis are utilizing methane gas turbines powered by generators because they have yet to build a power plant. This data center is up and running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, powered by generators. And it is completely methane gas powered turbines with these generators until they build a power plant. They are allowed under federal law 364 days of doing this without an air permit because it's a temporary power source. You, as a local government, can say that any power source, temporary or permanent, needs to follow the Clean Air Act. That's still law, knock on wood, for today. So I just say that, like that's so important because not just the noise. It's one thing to be annoyed by noise. It's a whole other thing not to be able to breathe. And the smog and air pollution in that area has gone up by 60%. It's a crime. And then they're already planning another one. So that was something that I did not know about, and Pennsylvania law does allow that. I mean, I'm going to introduce a bill, it'll go nowhere, but just for the public awareness of this is allowed. So I just wanted to put that on the record. And the other thing is bonding. There's some other states that have done some stuff like this, but we are the #1 state in the nation for Superfund sites. Let freedom ring here in Pennsylvania. We're open for business, right? So we don't need to add to that list with some abandoned thing. So there's some, I'm sure you've read about the bonding thing. Make it as stringent as you can that we, the residents and taxpayers, are not responsible for decommissioning and cleaning up and whatever that entails. Again, sort of a newer thing because not many have gone offline, but overestimate and add an inflationary index to that bonding so that it's accommodating. And then the last thing I wanted to say is if there is some sort of economic benefit, you need to have a study. And the state doesn't. I say that as we have a lot of elected officials at press conferences talking about this amazing economic impact that's going to bring. There's no I don't know where the 7,000 jobs are, even to build one. I don't. And maybe I'm wrong, but like, show me where these numbers are from. You wouldn't trust this on nothing, right? And so, we need to know that because I was on a webinar with a bunch of other states, Maryland, Virginia, and they were very humble enough to say, we passed property tax exemptions, no clawback in 2020 in Maryland for data centers. And we are really regretting it now. And the governor of Maryland will not sign a bill to reverse that. He actually vetoed a bill to study the economic and environmental impacts. They plan to do a veto override in the fall, which will be very interesting. But you're not going to study it. Like, if this is so great, shouldn't we have the rationale for why it's so great? So there is a lot of that talking point of the economic impact, but it kind of reminds me of the fracking shale boom, as this is all going to be great. And then there's a lot of cleanup. I spent my entire morning, there's 18,000 gallons of oil and gas waste in the Susquehanna River right now. So this is like what we're up against for these companies that come in. Pennsylvania is open for business because we have weak regulations and weak laws. That's just fact. And so those are, I think, my main, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I hit all my points. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. That was quite a list.
Thank you. Any further comments? Yep. Come up here. Sorry, sir.
My name's Albert DeFilippo. I live over there in Spring City, Washington Square, where we're still trying to get the streets fixed. I appreciate it. It's pretty bad. I work for the University of Pennsylvania. I'm in and out of all their buildings down there. I'm in maintenance. So I'm in all. They have these mini data centers in some of the basements. For what's in there, for what is inside these minutes, it's nothing but just gangs of like computer decks and what. There's hardly anybody who works in there. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, you'll see one or two guys down there, one of the communication guys or something, they come in and out. But what I'm trying to say is the amount of power that those mini sub data centers that they own on their property, you won't believe the cables that they're pulling through the street now down there from the powerhouse across the Schuylkill River, because it will cost them for them to get into they make their own chilled water for the air conditioning, for the whole, and in fact, even give some away. But that's because they're a college. They could do that. They were going to build a powerhouse along with that. But then being a college, they really couldn't do that. I don't know all those laws. I don't know any of them, but there's a lot of laws where you're either a school or you're industrial base. What are you? So they didn't build the powerhouse. So they buying all our electricity comes, well, it's all on the grid, but they buy a lot of it from across the river. But these power lines to run these little tiny substations, man, it's ungodly. So I can't imagine. And I know they're going to have to build a power plant for the data center because they can't draw off of that power plant because then they'll draw too much off the grid. It's all mathematically figured out. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know where all the workers are going to be. I don't, maybe to build the place, but to operate it, there ain't going to be many people there. Right. Yeah. There's only going to be a handful of people. It's designed that way. Most of the stuff they can do is from off-site. Mm-hmm. They just need physical people in there doing maintenance or whatever they have to do to some of the machinery. But I don't know. Thought it was nice up here.
We're trying to keep it that way.
I know yous are. I just, I hear a data center. wow, they know what they're getting into with that. But then again, like Representative said, the government's gonna do it whether you like it or not. Well, that's all I got to
There's
say.
only
Hey,
so
I'm
much
all
we can
for
do.
building things and making things and all, but an RF signals, you gotta watch your RF signals, the radio frequency, that's a big deal. Because we got lead sheet, they put lead sheets around some of these things just to keep the signals from ruining the rest of the stuff in the building. So I know there's a lot of RF. Some of them that they have to test the signals for anybody to even go in the basement. There's a lot involved, and these are just mini ones. That's why they had to buy that power plant. Where the heck's that? They own a, Penn bought that. They bought a solar field in Pennsylvania because they're pulling so much electric from the grid, they gotta give it back. So then they had to do that. But that's just the main, all their equipment. So I don't know what this thing you want to do. This will do the whole thing. Good luck. I don't know. I just thought I'd put it out there. When I see the power I use, I know the size of this room, they got about 10 of them.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris McNeil, Nottingham Drive. I wanted to follow up on something that Katie and Albert just brought up. You know, Katie said, do some type of economic analysis. Now, yeah, I know someone's come to you and said, hey, we want to think about a data center. Well, the township could use some imagination and use some pretty hardcore economic analysis to say, well, what kind of uses would bring us ongoing workers, less pollution, and fit in more with who we are as a township. And I think that kind of due diligence is important that the township undertake so that you present alternatives to this landowner. Because maybe he's suffering from a lack of imagination. He's down in Ocala with his equestrian center. And what we need is somebody with great imagination in this township parlaying with him to get something different on the boards.
Okay. Sure. Anybody else? Anybody up here? All right. All right.
Say anything?
Okay, so let's see. One thing that we did skip was the meeting minutes from the June 17th, 2025 meeting. We need to actually approve those.
Yes, I
Sure.
make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 17th, 2025.
Give a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Discussion?
Oh, sorry, discussion. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, there are some things, but I need to know, are we just looking for bold errors or problems, but not spelling, grammatical stuff, right? That we don't care about?
No spelling. Yeah.
Okay, well, one thing is that we don't have the May minutes yet, remember? We were,
Oh, May minutes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
and so they have to be redone. I think I did have something, but these are like, 10 pages long. 14. Here on, there's no page numbers either. There's a statement here, I don't know, it says Ramsey, are you Ramsey? Who's Ramsey? Anybody remember who Ramsey is? Ramsey states that around 2 years prior, Keegan commented on plans for Penhurst. I don't think they mean Nicole. Well, I don't really know, but it's not really the problem. I'm just trying to get people to see where we are. It's the fact that they said Keegan. I think they were talking about a plan that came in a couple of years ago, and certainly that was not Keegan. We know it was. Yeah, but I don't think Keegan's the right word. That would be Nicole.
I think that probably the Keegan should come out of there.
Yes,
I
thank
agree with you.
All right, okay. And that's, and then it says Clement states that the plan she is referring to, maybe you'd like to have that changed.
Well, I think that was
Oh,
the
she.
speaker. Yes,
Oh, I get it. All right, sorry. That's,
which is the same plan I referred to this evening.
thank you, that's all.
Are there any more objections or corrections or changes? Okay, so all in favor of the minutes as modified?
Aye.
All right. Do we have anything to cover for the planning commission discussion item? I guess it would be our extra items. I don't know what you guys did last month, and did you guys choose one? Okay.
No,
So-
we didn't.
So none of that,
Anything with that.
we'll just take that one off and public comment before we close.
We're not gonna go over this at all?
No, we're gonna wait for the actual black line to come up next month. Because there's like 5 different things that everybody wants to put together. So there's no point in going line by line off this.
Perhaps what we all could do individually is feed our individual comments on this draft to Joe, just as a quick email, and then that would allow, again, that input to be gathered. Rather than do it in open session, I don't see it as valuable at this point.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other comments?
We've had some discussion about the comprehensive plan being redeveloped.
Mhm.
I don't know where we stand with that. We've talked about 2 versions that exist. Some folks have been pushing for like a new version and.
Oh, there's only one version that exists. It's
Well,
the
all right, a
2018
previous one,
version.
and then,
Yeah,
and some people felt the older one was better.
okay.
And I don't just want to, we're gonna drop that. What are we gonna do with that?
Do we have any input on when the Board of Supervisors would like us to take up the comprehensive plan?
Not yet. I believe that's something will be discussed at the next Board of Supervisors meeting to figure out how to move that forward. But what I have been directed to do, what we discussed at the last meeting, is to take the old plan and the new plan, combine them together and present that to the planning commission as just a starting point
Okay,
for the conversations.
that'd be great. Yeah, thank you. So. Yeah,
Hi, Dana Chaffone, Hearthstone Circle. So I just wanted to add on the data center. Through our research, the interesting thing is in some cases, or in many cases, at least in Virginia, it's the county that's coming up with these ordinances. But I cannot find anything from Chester County and where they stand on this. It's like silence. So, typically when we go through land development, the Chester County Planning Commission reviews those plans. So I guess one question is, would they, let's say a data center plan comes in, are they going to be reviewing it? And does anyone have any idea where the county stands on this, or, as far as a model ordinance or how we protect? I mean, they've got climate change goals and this seems to go against that. So I just, have done lots of searches and I can't find a thing. So that was mind-boggling, I guess is the word that I'm going to use. And I just have to echo what Katie said about fast tracking this. Time is of the essence. So if we need to have special meetings, because not only does it have to come back through you guys, obviously it has to go to a public hearing in front of the board for a vote. So it's a lot to tackle and I know that, but I just wanted to emphasize the need to do that as quickly as we can. But if anyone know, well, Rachel would know, I guess she's involved with the Chester County Planning Commission and she's not here, but again, mind boggling to me that there seems to be no position on their part. And this goes against, their climate action goals. So thanks.
I'm going to cry. I'm very upset about this. Monica Scriver, Valley Creek Lane. The more I research noise and I hear our residents talking about the amount of noise that interrupts their lives, they're probably experiencing what's called noise-induced hearing loss. A lot of in our society, we figure the gray hairs come, the years go, it's just a part of life. Well, what's happening is people are being exposed to noises constantly, and they just get used to it. It's something that I think that the township has to address it. They have to address it, especially when you have residents talking about how much noise they're being exposed to. It's imperative. And so I'm asking you, I have research. The most recent research I found, you know, Bob suggested we do Lights Out, that's a really nice program. Dark skies.
Yes.
There's something called quiet communities. I think our township needs to look into it. I've mentioned in other meetings, when the development across from us, I don't know what mowers they're using, but they can go for hours and hours and hours. I don't read the decibels yet, but I'd be willing to bet it's past the decibel levels. And so I think it's really important for the whole township, but also when you're doing this ordinance, to consider these decibel levels, because they just grow. They don't grow by 10%. They grow by 30% every number that goes up. I can't explain that, Joe. I don't know if you could or not. We don't have to, but I just have to say, I want to hear birds. I don't want to lose my hearing. And we are literally surrounded by this industrial noise already with some of the equipment that's being used. And if this comes in, and I've had somebody say to me, a decision maker say, oh, well, you can't hear that. Well, one of the supervisors in Prince William says, it's a noise. Once you hear it, it's like a fly that aggravates you. It never goes away. You always will hear that. It's a low frequency, and low frequency travels through walls and windows. Quiet communities will tell you that. And the WHO research is lowering the decibels. So that is something, use our resources that are out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Myth. So the frequency of the data center noise. So I don't know if anyone caught a couple months ago, there was a lawsuit filed by residents against the YMCA along the main line. And it was about pickleball courts. And I was listening to this and I'm like, are we kidding? Like, is this for real? So it was the noise from the pickleball courts. Well, they actually did a sound study, and whatever range of frequency that pickleball sounds falls within is the same frequency range as a lawnmower, and low frequency sound is not regulated under noise ordinances. So what is interesting about this pickleball litigation and also the sound of the lawnmower is that it's also the same frequency of what a data center sounds like. So whatever that range is it's not only annoying, it's that it's also the frequency of human voice. So when you hear the lawnmower, the reason it annoys you is because we cannot tune it out, because we are programmed when we hear another human voice to listen, because we're humans. It's innate. Like we've developed that skill. You can't tune out that frequency.
We try.
Well, we try, but you can't, you still hear it, right? So it's that same frequency. So that is something that is not regulated by the state either, but it is an important note that is something that you can't ignore because it falls into that same frequency of human voice. So it is something from like a building material standpoint would be very helpful to know. And I can try to get some information from the data center that I toured, because you couldn't hear anything, and I can hear and smell anything. I just can't see anything. So I just say that whatever they built the GSK data center with, I don't know what the wall, now if you go on the floor of the data center where all the servers are there, that's loud. But standing outside of it, of the door inside the building, is not, you can hear a little hum, but in the parking lot, you can't hear it. You can still hear the birds. So, and there's $1 million homes right next to that place. And we've never received a complaint. So that might be because GSK actually built that data center themselves and later sold it. But whatever those materials are for soundproofing is something worthy of considering including in your language.
Thank you. Joe, did you want to say something?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Any other further comments?
And nothing online, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Close?
So moved.
No, you took. No. So moved. So moved? Yeah. Heard a motion to close, made and seconded. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much, all. We will see you next month when we have the black line.